Good morning, everybody. This is Friday morning. It's here. The end of the week is here, so to speak, and I'm looking forward to Saturday and Sunday. I know you probably are too, but I've got Hansson Hindenburg from Baytown Tires, and he works on Saturdays because he wants to take care of you, those customers out there that can't get in through Monday through Friday, but like at my shop, I'm only open Monday through Friday. He's open till Saturday. Good morning, Hansson. How are we doing today, sir?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Now, I know that you're open on Saturday, and most of the customers come in on Saturday, work during the week, and they can't get there. But just in case some of them are listening, how can they get their car to you during the week? Is there any way you can help them get cars to
Oh, absolutely. If you need a ride to work, we'll gladly give you a ride if you want to drop your car off. People drop off their cars all the time before we open up. We have a drop box in front. We try to accommodate you as well as possible. If you need a loaner car, sometimes we don't have quite as many in our fleet as you do, but we do have loaner cars as well. Yeah. If there's a long-term project we have to work on.
Oh, yeah, I know all about that long-term project. I call those hanger queens. When you get a hanger queen in, it just doesn't want to go away. Like you put a computer in, and that computer's no good. Then you put another computer in, and that computer's no good. After about the third or fourth computer, you're about ready to call it quits, but you can't. So that's one of the reasons we're in this business. I guess we're just stubborn. We don't want to give up. We don't want cars defeating us. We like to take care of our customers. And I know you take care of customers by you telling them the difference between good, better, and best tires out there, because not everybody needs the best top-of-the-line tire that's $200 or $300, and sometimes they can get by with a very inexpensive tire, especially if they don't drive that much or they don't are out on the road that much.
Well, we see a lot of vehicles. People drive maybe 3,000 to 5,000 miles a year.
A year, yes.
Which always amazes me. These are 10-year-old cars, and they have 40,000 miles on them.
Absolutely.
And then we have others that have a 3-year-old car and it has 160,000 miles on it.
So both of those cars require different tires. You wouldn't put just a good tire on a car that's doing 40, 50,000 miles a year. You'd want to put the best tire on. That way they get more value, wouldn't you think, by putting a best tire on if you're going 40 to 50,000 miles a year?
And you're absolutely right. Some of these vehicles, we're doing an oil change and a tire rotation just about every month to a month and a half. And, having good tires on there, to get 60, 70,000 miles is only a couple of years for some of these drivers, while others, we see them once a year, and we do an oil change and a tire rotation because they have 4,000 miles on their vehicle.
Now, speaking of tire rotation and balance, what kind of blowback do you get when you suggest to customers, hey, it's been 6,000 miles since we changed your oil and we need to rotate your tires? I know sometimes when I tell customers that, they go, well, I'm used to changing it every other oil change. I go, if that's the case, then it'd be once every 10 to 12,000 miles. And they go, that's too long. You cannot go that long by rotating your tires. You must do it every 6 to 8,000 miles.
Well, and you're right. A lot of people, I ask how often they rotate their tires, and some of them will say about 10 to 12,000 miles. And unfortunately, tire manufacturers specifically state that you must rotate your tires at a maximum of 7,500 miles. It'll say in the warranty booklet, we recommend every 6 months, 6,000 miles, but a lot of tire manufacturers state in the booklet 7,500 miles. If you do it every 12,000 miles, you're missing a rotation, and unfortunately, when it's time, or if you need to have warranty on that tire, they won't do it.
What would they not warranty? Some people say, well, what will they warranty? I said, I said, let me ask Hansson. He can tell me what they will not warranty. Will they warranty cupping on tires?
Unfortunately not.
Will they warranty a tire separating?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So
if it's if it wasn't caused by aggravated wear due to alignment components being bad, then yes, it would be covered.
So if the tire is separated because the inside of the rubber is completely wore off because the car is going down the road towed out, that's not under warranty. But if the tire separates, you got plenty of tread on there, and the tire separates, the belt slips, that's under warranty. But tires making noise due to not rotating or bad shocks where they're not being rotated as well, Those things are not covered under warranty, and I bet you see cars coming in with noisy tires daily. I'm sure you do.
And, that's one of the biggest reasons that we wind up changing tires out. And some, especially on Hondas and Toyotas, they're not very good at isolating the road noise coming into the cabin. And people go like, well, I know the tires are still okay, but I haven't rotated them, and I only have 30,000 miles on there, but I need another set of tires.
That's the thing that I'm seeing people, depending on the type tire. If you have a 14-inch tire, I didn't realize how inexpensive they've gotten over the years, because not that many cars out there are 14-inch tires anymore. I guess they're trying to get rid of inventory. But there's a bunch of 16-inch tires out there. I had no idea so many cars today are 16-inch tires. Why is that? Why do they go to bigger tires? Do you have any reason?
Well, again, to get better fuel economy, the thinner the sidewall is, the more transfer of energy you have from the tire and rim assembly onto the road. So the gist is to get better gas mileage.
I was wondering why, because, think about it. Years ago, 13, 14, and 15-inch tires were all the rage. That's on the tires you sold. I think I might sell 4 14-inch tires a year here, and I hardly ever sell 15-inch tires anymore. Everything is 16 and 17 and 18 and 19-inch tires.
But on cars, 17s and 18s are pretty prevalent. 16s are almost becoming less and less as well.
Really? So they're getting rid of 16-inch tires, going to a taller tire?
Yes, sir.
Oh, and that's gas
17s
miles.
and 18s are very common on most smaller SUVs and cars nowadays.
Now, I've had customers come in and ask me this, and I don't know if we can still do not the temporary spares that we see in cars. Some cars have temporary spares, and they've been around since the 80s. These temporary spares have been, but you and I both know after about 10 years, they may look brand new, may be brand new, but they should be thrown away and not used again. Do y'all sell new temporary tires? Or
I do not.
Okay.
I don't sell any temporary spares at all.
Okay,
They used to be available to me, and I used to, put some on there if people wore them out and needed them. But unfortunately, nowadays, most of the time, temporary spares are only available through the dealership.
Okay. Now, what about if someone has a temporary spare? Now, I know, can they put a full-size spare wheel from a salvage yard in there? And I don't know if you can do
Sure.
that. Okay.
That's one thing that we encourage, but unfortunately, in some cars, there just isn't enough room.
Yeah, that's the bad part about it. They got just enough room for 2 cans of Fix-A-Flat in the corner.
Well, cars like Kia, that's all you get basically nowadays. They don't even put a spare tire in there.
Really?
They give you an air pump and a can of Fix-A-Flat, and hopefully you'll make it to where you need to make it to.
Well, I know my wife's Crossfire, her 2004 Crossfire, there's no spare tire in it. And it's 2004. Now her 99 Miata years ago had a spare tire in it. It was a temporary spare. You couldn't put a full size in it, but it was a spare tire. So that does make. And my Prius, it has a temporary spare tire either. And
but see, I think they're getting away from putting spare tires in cars, especially if you have different size tires on the front and the rear.
Yeah, that may be the reason, because even with the temporary spares, they kind of make the transmissions work a lot harder. I put that temporary spare on my Prius, and I thought the engine was going to come apart. It just, you had 2 different size tires on the.
Oh, that's why it's called a temporary spare.
Yeah, no kidding.
I see people driving around on temporary spares for days on end, and it's really only meant to go about 20 to 30 miles so that you can go and get your tire fixed or get a new tire on your regular rim.
Now, tell you what, when you use that temporary spare, when it says do not go over 60 miles an hour, you don't want to go over 60 miles an hour, because around 55 miles an hour, it's screaming. I'm going, I don't want this tire.
Well, and like you said, the car really doesn't like it, because most modern cars, they have sensors, the wheel speed sensor goes like, why is this tire going so fast? And it affects everything, the shifting, how the engine runs, the transmission. So really, get that temporary spare off as quickly as possible
Now,
if you have it on.
I was talking. Now, we're talking about tires and wheels again. Went down to the salvage yard to finding a 14-inch wheel for an older model car. He wanted to have a full-size spare in the back of it, and the guy says, "Well, good luck looking for a 14-inch wheel and wheel back there." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "We have people come from different states, from Alabama and Georgia, that are buying these 14-inch wheels as fast as we get them in here." I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "They're putting them on lowriders or trucks, putting 14-inch wheels on trucks to give them a lower riding appearance." I went, "Okay."
No, really, I hadn't heard that.
I hadn't heard that either. I went, so luckily, I found a 14-inch wheel that would fit on this 91 Spirit. But, I did not realize how hard 14-inch wheels were to find, steel wheels, and they are getting harder and harder to find. 13-inch, I can't find those. I looked just the other day to see if I could find a 13-inch wheel. I couldn't even find one in the salvage yard. I don't even know if they still make them.
No, I mean, I've had a car, but that's 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20, 30 years ago.
Honda, I had a Honda Civic that, came originally with 13-inch rims on it, but they haven't really, in the American market now. Overseas, yes, they still do 13-inch tires. In the American market, very few.
Well,
you'll see a Geo Metro or an older Honda Civic every
That's
once
about
in a
it.
while.
But yeah, that Honda Civic also came with 2 squirrels in a cage, did it not?
Yeah, I think that the output of the engine was about 84 horsepower back then.
I think so too. But they were ahead of their time, because they didn't back then. Those cars didn't have to have catalytic converters to meet emission requirements. That's what was so.
Oh, they really were. I mean, they were getting 20-something years ago. They were getting 30 miles, 32 miles to the gallon, and no problem at all. And the emissions were already better than any other car on the road, which is pretty amazing.
That's so true. Now, we've got a couple minutes left. On my Motor Age magazine this month, I'm sure you'll get it, they're talking about oils, the difference between European oils, synthetic, and American oils, synthetic. And they say a lot of American mechanics just don't realize they're not the same. They are just not even close to the same oils, and they do, and they're trying to encourage more technicians to get educated about European oils are different than American oils, and they really should be using the correct oil for their car.
Well, and we see more and more European cars, Fiats, BMWs, Mercedes, Volvos, all those are made directly for European oils. And if you look on the back of the oil can, it says these particular oils are only made for the Americas.
That's
so
right.
You definitely have to put Mobil 1 in there, or some oil like that.
And that's the thing I was trying to tell people. I said, over in Europe, they don't have the problem we have in America with sludging from carbon buildup from gasoline direct injection engines. And then when you add a turbo on top of the mix, then you get a really big gasoline direct injection turbo. Overseas, they don't have the problem of the intake valves getting carboned up like we do in America. And I think, and what they were saying, it has to do with the type oils they use versus what we use over here in America.
Well, and you're absolutely right. Even in American cars, I mean, they're using direct injection, and a lot of companies like Ford are going to a lot of turbos as well.
Yep.
And that's a double strain on both of those systems. And if you're not using the right oil, at 100,000 miles, that engine's going to let you know that you made a big mistake by not putting either the right viscosity of oil in there and not also using full synthetics like Mobil 1.
That's right. Now, they can come visit you and get their oil changed on Saturday. Dial 873-8900 Monday through Saturday from can to cane, and they'll be more than happy to take care of you. Hansson, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next Friday. Okay?
Have a great week.
All right,
Thank you.
Too now. All right, bye-bye.
If you want the best deal in town for tires, you need to call Baytown Tires at 873-8900.
Hansson and the guys at Baytown Tires take pride in serving Panama City for over 20 years. Baytown Tires on Highway 98 in St. Andrews. All service work backed by a nationwide warranty.
Water is too powerful to fight alone. Mr. Router Plumbing. Sink, shower, and toilet emergency drain services.
Part of what I'd like to let you know is what we do and how we work our system. Basically, we've got about 700 stocking dealers scattered around the 15 counties here in the Big Bend area of the state. I run a fleet of trucks, vans, and what we call hotshot vehicles to deliver to our dealers quickly so they can help service you as fast and efficiently as they can. Provide timely and efficient service, and we're there to take care of our dealers, who in turn can take care of their customers.
All right, welcome back to our Friday edition show here. I've got Mark Sarlo, Automotive Engineer. He calls every Friday from La Junta, Colorado, and we talk about things that involve your car, maintenance, and the three most important things about maintenance is maintenance, 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 according to Mark, and I agree with him conclusively. Good morning, Mark. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Doing well, and I'm glad that you brought up the maintenance. Had a late model, and I mean only a few years old Audi come in, and all they wanted was a check over and an oil change. Now, I emphasize they only wanted those two items because they had just purchased the vehicle. So we went ahead and looked it over, and I do want to say exterior and interior-wise, this car was immaculate. If you would, visually looking at this vehicle, you would have made a decision within seconds or maybe minutes to buy this vehicle. That's how nice it looked.
Good.
However, you and I have talked about this before, is that mechanically you need to check these things out. And I offer the service, and I'm pretty sure you do also, is prior to actually inking your signature or buying the vehicle, take it by your favorite technician and have him or her look it over. Pay them to do this, and you could possibly save a bunch of money. Now, I'm guessing that you have different levels of that kind of service also?
Yes, we do, and we tell customers in most cases, if you buy the car, they will take that purchase, what you paid me, off the pre-purchase, to look the car over. It ranges anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half on a car. So they pay me a lot, and they say, well, I tell them it's a good car. I look the car over, give them the good, the bad, the ugly, and they go to and says, I want to buy your car. Will you take that $100, $150 off the purchase price? And they say, sure. And I don't think I've had anyone ever deny that, and when on selling a car.
And what we do is we offer different levels. Do you just want us to put it on the lift and in general look at the door seams, the door jambs, etc., and make sure that it isn't and it hasn't been in a tremendous collision and reassembled? Because you and I both know there are some phenomenally talented people out there that can take a totaled vehicle, and put it back together, and it's pretty darn good. Now, I want to emphasize it's pretty darn good, but not brand new OEM good.
That's correct. That is true.
So usually, and it takes me only just under an hour of labor to go through a vehicle and in general check those kind of things out. If you want to get deeper, and I'm talking compression test and all of that type of stuff, well, then that ends up costing more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in today's world with OEM scanners, manufacturer-specific scanners, there are some tests that I can actually run with the scanner.
And yes, and that's what I have. A lot of customers still ask for that compression test, and I say, ma'am or sir, compression test really isn't necessary if you're not having any codes for drivability. I mean, I can look what's coming out the tailpipe on the gas and on the emissions, and I can see what the scanner looks like. And if all those things look good, there's nothing wrong with your compression. So that would be, in my opinion, I try to discourage them from doing that. Or if you want to pay me the hour or 2 hours to remove the spark plugs and mechanically do it, I'll do it on some of these models. But in most cases, like you said, the scanner can tell you if you got good compression or not.
And again, that is right, is that today's vehicles, many, and I want to emphasize many but not all, James and I have the capability of selecting different tests, and they call them function tests, with bidirectional scanners that we're able to kind of tell the health of an engine by asking it to run cylinder contribution. And just as James said, if we watch the emissions coming out of the exhaust pipe, we can generally tell the condition of maybe the after treatment, which in this case might be a catalytic converter, catalytic converters as in plural, and we can generally tell. But with all this was going was this guy had already bought this vehicle. Very, very proud of it. And again, I do want to emphasize, aesthetically, this vehicle was phenomenal. Almost anybody looking at this vehicle would have picked this vehicle up without hesitation. That's how good it looked.
Right.
But what ended up happening is the previous owner that traded it to the dealership. So I want to emphasize, my customer did not buy this vehicle from the previous owner. He bought it from a dealer who took it in and traded.
Right.
And again, a very, very nice vehicle, very nice looking. Well, anyway, it was having a problem, and the owner could not figure this out. He would check the oil level, and the oil level in the engine was correct. He would start it up and drive it a short distance, and the low oil level light would come up.
Oh, no. Oh,
He
no.
would go park and immediately check the oil, and the oil would be 2 or 3 quarts low.
Wow.
Then, by the time that he rounded up the oil, went back to the engine level was full again.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And he was having
no.
a hard time understanding, is there something wrong? Do I need to replace the sensor? Yet, he was actually proving to himself visually that the oil level was low when he pulled the dipstick, and the dipstick barely showed any oil on the dipstick. However, by the time that he got to the trunk, got the funnel, got all that stuff, went back up, checked it just before he added oil, the oil level was okay again.
This is not good news when I see that. I've seen this before. Not a good sign.
No. And
No.
so you run into it also, and I explained to him, I said, okay, first of all, I do not believe we need to spend your money on an oil level sensor, because the sensor is actually doing its job and telling you the oil level in the engine.
Correct.
And the guy not knowing the concept, he said, well, do you think it's burning it? And I said, no. Once again, let's go back through. You check the oil, it's 3 quarts low. By the time, which is usually 10 minutes, by the time that you get back up to the engine and ready to add oil, now your oil level's full. So I said, as you can see, you're probably not burning the oil because now your level's full. And so I explained to him that unfortunately the previous owner did not understand James and my main 3 things, which are maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. And by not changing the oil, so much sludge had built up on the cylinder heads that the oil could not drain back from the cylinder heads. So what would happen is this engine would pump the oil to the top. And very, very slowly it would drain back to the block. And that's why this was happening. So
did he allow
I
you
encouraged him
okay.
first.
All right.
I said, before you spend any more money with me, take this back to the dealership that you bought it, because they don't want a bad reputation. They have one of those certified, used cars.
Right.
Yeah, and I do want to say, when you think about the technical and actual wording, if you say a certified used car, everybody's going to agree it's a used car.
And it's certifiable.
It's certifiably a used car. Now,
Right.
what did they go through in their checklist? And if they're certifying it to be an okay vehicle, and we know that this sludge did not occur in the last 4 days since you bought it, what do they want to do about it? And so the customer left last night with some encouragement to say, at least I know why it's doing it. The customer believes now they have a better idea of why somebody traded in such a nice vehicle.
Right.
And now they get the opportunity to see if they have a leg to stand on to have the dealership fix this problem. Now, I want to emphasize to our listening audience, the answer is not to get a motor flush and flush all of this stuff, because now you're going to take this sludge and move it to the bottom into the engine and probably damage the engine.
And I have seen cases like this in older model cars. older model cars that we can take a gamble on. And I've actually taken cars like this. I've taken old trucks, and I have completely, you're going to laugh, I've sealed off the oil filter dipstick where nothing could get out, and literally filled the engine full of diesel fuel and let it sit for 2 months. I did that once on the engine like that, then drained everything out, took the spark plugs out, drained, I'm talking about, this is an old model Ford. It was so sludged up, and I did that, and it worked. I mean, we got the sludge out. We drove it for a couple more hunting seasons before the engine blew up, but you don't want to do that on a nice, relatively newer car. But it's all about the oil and people going too long between oil changes. And I was reading in this month's Motor Age magazine, about the difference between, which you and I have talked about, between European oils and American synthetic oils. What the Europeans consider synthetic oils running their cars, they will not allow that oil from America to be used over there, and it even said in the article not to be sold outside the Americas, and how marketing is, and how the American Petroleum Institute is not allowing the correct oils to be used, or not encouraging the right oils to be used, and it's causing problems on cars that they're not having in Europe. They're having a lot of these problems in America, but not in Europe on the same cars because of the oil and lack of maintenance. That's
well, we want to emphasize for our listening audience that when you say synthetic oils in the Americas, you are talking a large percentage.
Yes.
However, you and I both know there are 3, maybe 4 true synthetic oils in the United States.
That's it.
And the rest of them, unfortunately, are synthetic based on a Supreme Court definition of a synthetic oil.
Well, what I was reading in the article, they were talking about how every 30,000 miles over here in the United States are recommended on gasoline direct injection engines, especially with turbo, to have induction cleaning done on them. Where over in Europe, the same engines, the same gasoline direct injection turbocharged engines are not having to have the carbon buildup cleaned off the intake valves because of sludge from the oils, because it's a different type of oil, completely different oil that's being used over there versus what's being used over here that's called synthetic. And that is the hardest thing to get through to people. They think if it says synthetic, it's got to be the right oil for their car, and it's not. Just because it says it don't mean it's so. And
right, and as you said, the whole discussion on synthetic versus synthetic is probably an entire show.
It is. It really is. But it also, I'm trying to say, it made sure that I'm telling people right. This article that's in this month's Motor Age magazine is what you and I have been telling people for the last 10, 15 years about the differences in oil. Just because it says synthetic doesn't mean it'll work in your car correctly. And if it's as cheap as they say it is, and they are, you buy Amsoil, which is $10 a quart, or Mobil 1, which is $10 a quart. I'm just throwing a number out there. And then you buy another full synthetic that's $3 a quart. Shouldn't that tell you something? I would think so.
Right, and as you said, the synthetic versus the synthetic, and that's probably no different than a diamond versus a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
You've got industrial grade diamonds versus diamonds that that are good enough for gem quality, but they're both diamonds.
They're both diamonds, and they're, like I said, these are both oils, but you just don't want to put any kind of oil in your car. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you're listening to this, change your oil more often, and don't just willy-nilly put any kind of oil in it. Look